Who do we get to delegate the big decision to? Let me see, what is it?
What's the big decision?
Well, she got recognized for all her great work, so
No.
she's qualified to make a big decision.
Nice. So you're the one?
No.
There's many.
Helicopter transport or accident avoidance and awareness first?
You can build a shape,
Helicopter.
and it teaches you how to like.
You're the one.
merge stuff together.
Say that question again?
Helicopter transports or accident awareness and avoidance first?
Or like.
Two different presentations.
Oh, just the presentation in general.
I got two different topics to cover today. Which do you want to do first?
Third time's the
Let's
charm.
say accident or.
Okay.
I'd vote for that too. Let's get that in.
Let's get that, be aware first, and then we can go through the
I
other.
got it.
Yes, yes.
Make sure
Yes,
we
we
Like,
were,
you
they just about got in a tussle up there. All
All
the people that were sitting on the side of the road.
You need to cut it. 3D builders.
Oh, they just about, the meetings haven't been over there. They probably
It
got
cuts
them
them down, so you just have to basically like just cut it into.
Where?
on our crash following spot.
Oh, really?
So freaking, and all these teenagers are pulling out their phones, like getting ready to video it.
So 3D builders really
Oh, yeah.
simple, and then you have to hang a thing, well, you might even.
They're just getting ready to throw down, it's pretty funny.
Surprised you just didn't go kick them all out of there. Get back to school.
Cop was over there and yelling at him, backing up, and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to smack the crap out of someone with this shovel.
There's also 3.
I didn't hear anything from you. Did you have anything to add or?
Let's start a little.
If you do during this, please do.
Either that or I just need to watch.
The
Start with-
attorneys
Start
changed
with 3D builder.
risk management's claims committee till 1 o'clock today, or you'd have the entire claims division down here.
You can.
The entire risk management division. They were excited to see it.
Graduate from the
Did you share it with them?
You said.
Oh, I did send it to Jamie, didn't I?
Jamie, she wanted to be here. If they get done, they might pop in. but-
Okay.
modifications.
That's fine.
3D builder.
Hey.
Really easy.
Hey, I wouldn't miss this for the world.
You put me here.
No. No, not true.
That's true.
You
Fair
put
enough.
you here.
That's fair. I got nothing. I got nothing.
Who's on calls?
We only got one call going on, but they're heading down. here.
They're all working
Right
their way
now.
down. Give them a minute.
Micaiah's busy.
Ah,
That's okay. I think Rox is recording this, if I'm not mistaken. Looks like she is.
let's talk more about Abby's upcoming wedding.
Yeah, congratulations. I heard the big news.
I'm not.
That's awesome.
Incorrect.
I was about to say,
False.
you just barely started dating this
You-
guy.
Lies.
You gave me an invite.
Lies.
Move to Utah and look what happens. You do Utah
No.
things, date 6 times and you're engaged, huh?
I've been married with 5 kids already, based on the Utah. Respectfully. No. No thanks.
With friends like this. Right?
My goodness.
You also said you would never be in a serious relationship,
You
so.
also said, will you stop airing out
There's a
my,
pattern.
what's going on?
Yeah, so-
What are you doing over there?
You told him where your goat was, didn't you?
Goodness
You told him where your
gracious.
goat was. And if somebody can get your goat, they're gonna get your goat.
Are we still talking about dating? Well, hi, Chief.
Mustache is looking great.
It is.
Really?
I'm loving it.
It's better
And
than
it's not
Bryce.
even,
Brownie
and
points
it's not
over
even
there.
November yet.
No?
I need a long head start. I'm not like you
I
that
don't know, you're coming
has to
pretty good.
shave by 5 p.m. or you've got a,
No, it's not
Full
quite
beard.
that. I can go 2 days. I proved that every round.
well, yeah, I'm trying.
It's looking good.
Good.
I'll keep it up for a while.
Heck yeah.
Somebody else coming in?
Yeah.
They got 2 or 3 coming down.
How are you?
They just got here.
What's 54's?
Um,
There's just this alpha. Oh, engine 54.
You guys left at the worst time.
We left.
They almost got in the fight. Where do I get my hair done?
Wasn't any injuries, was it?
I found a lady as well.
No, there was just a traffic accident, they were arguing, and we got fault. My cop was like, yeah, when I saw her.
No, freedom of speech, and they just said, you're one of them.
She walked right up, she goes,
Yeah.
after we finished the guy's assessment, she goes, do you have a Durant looking? And I said, well, I don't determine that, you know, or is it
Skinny G.
your business, who are you? I'm the mother of these 4 kids that this guy almost killed.
Because he's got a low, like, there's a
Text back and forth,
it makes
Teddy
sense, you say that.
a week ago.
It's like when you go to prep school.
They haven't determined it's a fault. It might be your kids that buy it.
And that's what I said, but I said, I don't know that he was 6 inches.
I would imagine so. Plus, I always had a feeling it was kind of a rebound FU thing
And I'm
anyway.
like, well,
And that might not be a fair assessment. I think it probably
taking my
was.
patient's confidence
And
has nothing to do with it.
you know, he had a couple bad incidents, but
So she started
towards the
saying,
end.
I need your name, I need this, I need that.
But just like the helicopter
I
accident,
would've gave him a shot.
he didn't manage it well. And that Carson accident,
So as soon as.
understandable, like, I get it, right?
We're leaving, we're going.
But he's a guy, I just think he's too proud to deal with his demons or something. But
It's gonna
goddamn, it's
cost
got
problems, it's
one.
gonna go over there.
Just fucking got one.
They're strong.
Breaks my heart.
Fair enough.
Like, it's amazing to me that I could have somebody that I worked with as long as I did.
Well.
See, I started at county anyway, before he came back. I've worked with that guy, like, I can make a reasonable case that I've worked with that guy longer than maybe anybody that, you know, cause he was at the county. But, breaks my heart. Is this it, Lance? At least that we think's coming? 54, who's 54?
54's here.
Henry and,
All right. Well, we'll let whoever else is gonna wander in while we can, so. Well, welcome. Thanks for letting me, have you as a captive audience for a few minutes. We have a couple topics to deal with today, I was asked to cover. One of them was my fault, and the other one was a topic I was asked to cover. And I don't wanna keep you here long, cause I know how your day's been. But, if you haven't heard, congratulations are in order.
Oh, you
But Abby decided we were going to do accident awareness first. So the first question probably you might all have is the same one I had. Why am I teaching this? Why is this not somebody from PD? Why is this not somebody from IRMA? Who doesn't know who IRMA is? It becomes important in this topic. Does anybody know who IRMA? Who does know who IRMA is other than Scott Moore?
She's the lady that calls at 3 in the morning every night.
Right. Chief, who's IRMA?
Utah Risk Management Association.
What is
This
it?
our insurance company.
Okay, so that's it,
It's a
right?
pool of municipalities that participate, not all of them do, but like Ogden, South Ogden, not South Ogden, yeah, Ogden, South Jordan, Murray, there's a few that are IRMA cities. And there are certain standards we abide by, and they come out and do inspections every year. They'll pick a particular department within the cities and come out, and then they do ratings for the whole city. And Layton traditionally is always on top, with South Jordan right behind on our heels. I think once South Jordan was above us, and the city manager let us know that that was not acceptable, and so we're usually at the top of those when they do the reports for all the cities on how we deal with the risk management policies, procedures, just overall claims and everything. So we for the most part, we do pretty good.
And part of what they do is as that, they do training. And so we've had people from IRMA here before to come do training. So, so why me? It's probably the least most qualified person to talk about accident awareness and avoidance there is. And yet, weirdly, I'm not, all right? Because I should be more aware than what I have been recently. Here's the history. On August 30th, 2019, I was responding just over here on Gordon to a 1050 Pi, a Bravo. And I was involved in a rear end accident. I will tell you at that point, I was 27 years into my career and hadn't even so much as scratched a rig. This was my first accident in 27 years. The risk management folks were really proud of me. I didn't swear. This vehicle, the camera kicks on the minute that you turn the lights on. I turned the lights on because I've been involved in an accident, and it goes back 30 seconds. And they were absolutely shocked that I didn't swear. They did note that I had Kenny Chesney playing in the background, so they assumed that I was in a peaceful state of mind. But the reason that this accident happened is because I heard the NDT click that noticed that something's changed about the incident on the NDT, and I looked over to see what was different, hoping that it was probably me getting canceled, and looked up in time to go hit my brakes and ass send this lady. Okay, you can probably tell I did a fair amount of damage. It didn't do. There's a tiny little dent that's very hard to see there, but I did. So lug nut law is true. He or she with the largest lug nuts wins, and in this case, I had the largest lug nuts and I won. There were no injuries associated with this, but there was damage in excess of, and I didn't get the exact dollar amount, but I'm pretty sure that that's relatively close to what the city paid out to her and for us to manage that accident right there, right? In and of itself, not the end of the world, not my finest moment, right? Pretty awkward to have another agency come and investigate an accident that you've been involved in. I'm driving up and down on Gordon Avenue, and everybody's looking at the fact that the dumbass in the fire engine hit somebody. All right. It happened because I was distracted, plain and simple. There's no two ways around it. All right. So I went through the process, which I'll explain here in a minute, and it was managed, and I got the appropriate, if you will, discipline or conversation that was appropriate to the moment for my accident. Fast forward to August, by the way, pay attention to these dates, 2019, 2024. August 3rd, 2024, not too long ago, I was not responding to an incident, all right? I was at Maverick after having spent about an hour and a half on a car wreck. It was a rather warm day in August. The drink machine at 53 was broken. And as I was driving eastbound on Antelope, I thought, oh shit, I should stop at Maverick and buy myself a drink to cool off with. So I pulled in a different way than I normally do. This will become important here in a minute. And as I was pulling out, I hit that retaining wall. The cause for that accident was distraction and an interruption to my routine. So let me talk about those two things. And I'll talk more about routines here in a minute. Can routines be good for us? How? Give me an example of how routine specific to driving, or even not specific. In all of what we do, if we develop a routine, how can it be helpful for us?
So the one that came to my mind is every time we get a call, I go out to that engine, and first thing I do is battery, ignition, and then I put bunkers on. That way the engine warms up, the radio warms up, and I know everything's ready to go. So I can jump in, the garage door as well, as I do that. So I know the garage door's open, I know my engine's getting warmed up, so I can just hit the ignition and I can start driving as soon as everyone's in.
How many of you have a certain spot when you're backing a vehicle into a rig that you either spot your rig or look for your rig to? That's your routine. I have a similar routine when I pull out. Wallet, phone, and if you ever see me, any of you at 53, I always look out to make sure that the garage door is open because Jared Shawley ripped one off when we were younger and I never wanted to do that. So I always, as a matter of habit, look up to make sure that the garage door is not partially open for whatever reason. Who else has got a routine? Somebody? What's yours?
Apparatus checks.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the point of that?
It helps me to make sure I hit all the checks.
Right.
It's just my habit. It's just that it's a routine.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with it, and I know that I can hit all the areas that I need to.
Yeah. So I actually go to this Maverick quite often. All right. And my routine is, because of how bad traffic is getting on and off of Hillfield and or Antelope, I usually pull in on the west side of the building on Hillfield, from Hillfield, and I park with my door, my driver's door, adjacent to that retaining wall. so that I can then pull out to the east and I go around back of the car wash so that I can then exit at Quail Cove Apartments where it's easier to get out on Hillfield than it is over here by the light. That's my routine. I got out of my routine that day and didn't pay attention. That actually, I think, hurt me. Can routines ever be harmful to us or potentially detrimental? Lance, you're nodding your heads. What's an example?
You have your routine, but then if you don't notice that there's something that's changed, because you're stuck in your routine, that could cause.
It can breed complacency.
Yeah.
It absolutely can breed complacency. All right. One of my favorite. You can. Oh, I thought you were gonna turn around and come back. I'm like, don't leave. You're a chief around here, perhaps. One of my favorite examples of that was from one of our pilots. We do, just like Josh does his daily checks on his apparatus. We pre-flight our aircraft, and this particular pilot said, I'm noticing that a lot of you are getting complacent or not paying attention to stuff, even if you've got a routine. And so he actually said, one of these days I'm going to tape a $20 bill to the aircraft and see if any of you actually find it. And man, I was all over that thing. I was like underneath it. And I finally said to him on one, I'm like, dude, you once said in a brief that you were going to take a $20 bill to that thing. And he said, you want to know what the funny part is? You're the only person that's ever listened to that. That's how complacent we all are. And I'm like, no, I just needed the $20. But the point he made is even in a no shit business like that, or like ours, we can get so into a routine that it breeds complacency too. So it's actually beneficial for you to sometimes develop a new routine to force new neural learning, all right? So that you see and do things differently so that you don't get complacent. Scott, go ahead.
Tell them the story about the cop that got killed from their routine from training.
Yeah, that's a great point. Have any of you know this story? Mark knows this story. So the story is that this department did drills where they would produce a gun on, right? And then the part of it was that this guy took the gun away from me, and it was how to maintain control of your gun, right? And so during the process of this, they would exchange this dummy gun, and he went from that of handing off a dummy gun and literally turned his weapon over to a bad guy that then shot himself with it, because that was always their habit of turning this gun like almost nonchalantly back and forth, and just got so complacent with what they'd done in training that when it came actual time to do it, he just handed over a gun to a perp, a bad guy, just not even thinking it was his muscle memory, and he ended up getting shot from it. Is that basically the gist of it? Yep. So complacency and routines can bite us in the ass, but they can also help us. So I don't have a perfect answer on that, but on that particular day, that routine of mine, which would have prevented this accident because I would have known I was against the door, didn't. Now here's the distraction. As I was sitting there and as I began to creep away, I'm creeping to the west, I'm going to turn still and go by the place that I normally do out of Quail Cove. Right off the front corner bumper of my car was a brand new Cybertruck. What do you think I was looking at? I was looking at the Cybertruck. Any idea why I was looking at the Cybertruck? A, because it's badass, and B, because I didn't want to hit the Cybertruck. I was so focused on the Cybertruck and not hitting it, which, by the way, it was parked out enough that if I didn't negotiate just right, I would have. And I got so fixated on a thing that I lost my situational awareness of the thing, right? Clearly, by the way, I'm not the only one that's done this, just in case you're curious. All right, and I've dinged up the truck. Now that tiny ass little ding right there, any of you notice where it's at? 1 door, 2 doors, and there?
The rocker panel.
Rocker panel, $10,000 plus in damage for that. Didn't involve anybody else, just that. So in the span of not quite 5 years, I was involved in 2 accidents, all right? Not good. There's a thing in the city called, affectionately, that we call the matrix. Now I want to start with this slide to begin with. This is written on the matrix. The chiefs have this. This is used as a guide throughout the city by department directors and or their designates as part of the ARB process, which we'll get to in a minute, as a rough guide of how we will deal with accidents or injuries in a way that's as consistent as we can across the city. So in other words, if Lance gets involved in an accident and or somebody else from Public Works and or somebody from PD or whoever, this is a guide. It is not a hard fast. It is a guide that is used to determine the consequences of that, all right? So you could probably read through here, but it does get adjusted based on nature of the cause, consequences from the accident, policy, what policy violation, your history, including non-related stuff. So if you're a turd or a dingleberry, off duty or otherwise, and you're getting written up and or problematic, and then you ding up a rig or you do something to cause injury to yourself or somebody else from not following policy, because as a caveat, I'm going to talk predominantly about vehicle related things today, but everything that I say holds true about on-the-job injury too, and it'll make more sense as I go. But if you want to interject accident and injury through this whole thing, it's the same, okay? So, are you a pain in the butt around here, or any prior accident involves serious injuries or more than $5,000 in damages? That's a state law, a rule, by the way. Okay, they do not preclude the option of termination on a first or subsequent accident if the conduct or cause was serious or blatant enough to warrant such measures. Somebody give me an example of what that might be. If you were intoxicated and or they determined to be under the influence of something, okay, what might that something be? Alcohol. Benadryl. Okay. Even over-the-counter stuff, is that possible? What? Other prescription medications.
That cause.
Right? Anything that causes for you to be altered, okay, under city policy,
Medical cannabis.
Yep, medical cannabis, okay. Wasn't gonna go there. Thanks for opening that can of worms. But if it's determined as a consequence of your accident or whatever, the contributing factor or the primary contributing factor was that you were impaired, it's entirely possible that you could lose your job. So now let's go back to the matrix. What you'll see is, by the way, don't get down here ever. Okay. First preventable, second preventable, so on and so forth. So first preventable accident, damages under $2,500. They get the idea is to get an SIR2, which is a written warning, and that you do training. If it's over that, you'll go to an ARB, the same SIR, and you'll do training.
ARB is an accident.
I'm going to go through that in a minute.
Sorry.
This is my training. Thanks.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry, Chief.
Sure. Based on the seriousness of it, you could get all of these things. 2 preventable accidents. By the way, if you do the math, I was 27 days apart from 5 years, and then I'd have gone back to this one. All right. And it lays out exactly what your training, or your potential consequences are. So let's talk about a couple of those. An ARB. Who's been to an ARB yet? Okay, Rox, tell us real quickly what the ARB consists of.
The ARB is just an investigative to see the cause, the intent, what could have been prevented, but just kind of how can we prevent this in the future, what happened, what
Who was there?
Contributing. Risk management.
Right.
And chief officer.
Some group from here, right? Were you scared when you went?
Absolutely.
Scared to death, right? After you left, were you scared?
Less.
Less. All right. Was yours a preventable accident?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So an ARB, and I'll let you interject because you were going to say something in a minute. So an ARB is a fact-finding thing only. All right. It's conducted at the direction of the fire chief or his or designee, and includes several members of the city's risk management group. They will bring you in, whether it's preventable, in other words, you did something that contributed to an accident or injury that you shouldn't have, or even if it's not preventable, they may call you in just for fact-finding so that we can find ways to improve training, policy, our procedures, our practices, or whatever for that to not happen again. So if you happen to get called in for an ARB, here's what you need to know. You're going to be scared, you're going to be nervous, okay? Unless you are drunk, stoned, or insanely stupid or reckless, you're probably not going to lose your job there. And by probably, I mean you're not going to lose your job there.
And to add to that, or lie.
Right, okay, good point, thank you. That is on one of my slides here. So an ARB, An ARB, it's my training last, my part. Okay, so an ARB is simply a way for you to reflect on what happened, to offer your perceptions of what happened, and to go through and recreate as best as you can the specifics of what happened so that the city can examine it if it needs to go further or what. Fair enough? That's what an ARB is. What is an SIR? And I brought this up, not related to this. I had somebody say to me the other day, I mentioned that somebody got an SIR and they're like, oh my God, am I going to lose my job? Let me back this up. How many of you have gotten a positive SIR? So in other words, you did something that was good and you got a positive SIR. You've gotten one? Did you get promoted right after that?
No.
No. So if you don't get promoted for having had a positive SIR, are you going to get fired for having a negative SIR?
Depends on how many you have.
Okay, let me extrapolate this out a little bit more. If Aaron were to get a lot of good positive SIRs from doing good work around here, might he be better suited for promotion? If you were to get a bunch of negative SIRs around here, might that not go well for you? Yes. But an SIR itself is just a written communication saying, hey, great job, or hey, we need you to do better. You do not need to fear an SIR. You need to contemplate the words that are written on it and either be like, hey, I'm going to do more of that, or I should probably not do what I just did. Knowing what I just told you, do you think I got a positive or negative SIR on my first accident?
Positive.
Negative. Okay. I got a negative SIR that said, thanks for 27 years of not dinging up rigs, but you need to pay better attention, especially when you're on an emergency incident. No, I wasn't going like the siren still. And not have that happen again. Maybe maintain better following distances. There were all sorts of recommendations. I got a negative SIR. Did I get fired? Nope, I didn't. Okay. So if you get an SIR, don't freak out. All right. By the way, either way, if you get a positive one, pretend like you've been in the end zone before. Don't strive. Look what I just did. All right. Just all right. Say thanks. Be proud of yourself. Remember it in your I love me file. By the way, is that going to be factored into your evaluation at the end of the year? Would you want something good that happened to be factored into your evaluation? Yes. Then, as a matter of obvious question, won't something that is a negative factor into your evaluation? Yes. So here's a word to the wise. If you're going to get a negative one, get it early in the year so you can demonstrate that you've changed. If you get a negative SIR in May, it's going to suck for you. Okay? Because you can demonstrate that you've changed your behavior with your officer. Fair enough? So that's an SIR. Let's talk about the predisciplinary hearing. Who's been to a predisciplinary hearing before? Yeah, Roxanne. Me. All right. That one's a little more ominous. A predisciplinary hearing is a hearing that they convene with HR again, department directors and or his designee again. Is that us?
No.
Kaysville.
Rookie move, Brig. Rookie move.
There we go.
What'd I do?
Oh no, you were giving me crap earlier for where I parked.
So,
Assuming you can go the fastest route.
yeah. So predisciplinary hearing. By city policy, if they're going to execute or potentially not execute you, that's just, it could be used in a different term. Okay. Formal discipline against you, you have the right as an employee to defend yourself against whatever question there may be. So in my circumstance, because now I was in a second accident, I was going to get formal discipline for that. So I had to go before a predisciplinary hearing. Except I didn't go before a predisciplinary hearing. All right, I waived it because what am I going to say? Like really, what was I going to say? I did it. I totally did. Like there's nothing that I could say. So I waived my right to a predisciplinary hearing. I said, you don't need to go through the time and the expense and the hassle and everything else. I did it. I own it. Like I'll take my lumps, right? So I got my lumps. So my lumps were I get to spend time with all three platoons, and I'm actually glad to do this, and I shared with them that I was glad to do this. I also got 24 hours of leave docked, all right? Now that's a hit. That's a hit. I would like to have had 24 hours to do whatever I wanted to do, but I took a hit of 24 hours. And I got a formal written letter, all right, that goes in my file, that will be a part of my evaluation process this year, by the way, which it should have. Now, I'm telling you that for a reason. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been here. It doesn't matter if you do something boneheaded, like I did, you have to pay the piper. And so even if it was Chief Ward or Chief Nance or whoever, right, or you, here's the nice thing for you. You're likely to get the very same discipline that he's going to get for doing the exact same things. Because at that point, you're blinded by collar brass and just the activity. All right? So that's why I'm here, is to spend today talking about how not to do boneheaded stuff like I did.
It's also reflective in the supervisor's evaluation
Yes.
as well.
That's why Chief gets very bad evaluations for the preventable accidents. Because all of us,
Thank y'all.
right, all of us, his accidents apply towards his. Now, let me tell you something, and the chiefs can attest to this. I've defended all of you, I won't say us, but all of you for the accidents that we've had around here, or the incidents or the mishaps that we've had around here lately, because I keep saying, we have more vehicle movements than we've ever had. The city traffic is busier than we've ever had. We have more calls, which means we have more potential to have mishaps happen. We have more likelihood that it's going to happen. And we also have youthful people driving and doing things new in different rigs and stuff that they haven't done before. I can't make that same claim anymore. All right? I can't. Not because this happened, but you've all matured enough in your jobs that you shouldn't be doing the silly, stupid stuff that you did a year ago. Right? There's certain things that I just can't defend anymore. And certainly can't defend it at my position and time in the city, right? So you'll see here in a minute, there are consequences, not just personal ones like what I'm confronted with right now, but organizational ones that are absolutely a consequence of our behavior. So, just so you know, there's a blueprint that gets laid out that we match up where you're at, your career, and what happened, and dollar amounts and damages, and we settle on as a starting point where you're likely to have your discipline come about. Fair enough? Doesn't matter who you are or anything else, okay? EMS fire accidents. So I did a little research on this. I actually GTS'd it. Yes?
Do you mind if I share this one?
In a minute, sure.
It was actually a friend of ours.
Okay. So I GTS'd it, and I looked up Utah emergency vehicle accidents. How common are they, do you think? So the first one that popped up was ours, just because it was the most recent. But do you think that they're common?
Yes.
I was shocked at how many mishaps involving fire vehicles or EMS vehicles that had happened in the state in, let's just say, the last 5 to 6 years. Several of which involved totals, all right, others of them significant damage, others of them involving fatal injuries, others of them involving serious to minor to moderate injuries. All of them certainly affecting their organization. So before we get to you, this is a study from NHTSA. Who knows who NHTSA is? Okay, National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. They track all this stuff. They put out a report in 2023, so this is pretty recent data. In 2022, 800 people were injured in collisions involving us. Fatality rates, you're 4.8, almost 5 times higher to have a fatal accident involving a fire or EMS vehicle than you are a traditional civilian vehicle. 5 times more likely. Fire truck accidents are the second leading cause of on-the-job death for you, for us, for me. Second highest. How often do we talk about it? We talk about all the other shit. We do May Day March. We spend an entire month on how to save you and your partners if something goes awry in a structure. Is that the first cause of death? Nope. Is it the second cause of death? Nope. And yet we spend an entire month managing it and dealing with it. How often do we talk about accident and injuries and how likely it is to gobble you up?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. How many of you lay in bed at night and think, oh shit, I'm going to die in a fire tonight? Now be honest, some of you have. I did the first night. I counted all the holes, waiting for the tone to go off. I was gonna die in a fire. How many of you have ever said to yourself, oh my God, I'm gonna die in a vehicle accident here? Probably most of you have never, well, Rox, it makes sense for you. All right. In 2022, 35 fire trucks were involved in fatal crashes. All right, that's one every 10 days across this country. Ambulance accidents are involved in a significant, often due to high speeds. In 2022, 40 ambulances involved in fatal crashes. All right. What did you want to share with us?
So, do you know by chance, since you have the picture up, do you know the backstory of this accident?
Mm-hmm.
So what it was is, you had the two up front.
Tell everybody who this is first of all.
So it's Logan Fire.
Okay.
So they had the two up front.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason they were riding three-handed, I'm not sure why.
Because it's cool. You would
I
never
guess,
understand
yeah.
that. But go
It's
ahead.
awesome hopping out on the fire scene looking like a clown car. So,
Did you just call me
paramedic in the back.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, because when you pilot, never
Go ahead.
mind, stay on point.
Are you on probation?
Yeah, for a while.
Would you like to go back?
Anyway, focus.
You gave him the floor, Chief.
So, paramedic in the back.
Still my presentation. Go ahead.
So paramedic in the back, they're responding to a structure fire. The road they were on, I want to say it's like 40, 45 miles an hour. They were excess of 60, coming to a red light, no due regard whatsoever. Firefighter in the back was getting geared up, no seatbelt. As they went through the intersection, the other car who had the green light was coming through, and they tried to swerve. They ended up colliding and went into the traffic light. When they opened up the back door to find the paramedic back there, they legitimately thought he was dead. He got tossed around, absolutely, I can't think of any other word to describe besides destroyed. It's very similar to our accident that we had here just a couple months ago. People, now, I'm going to just be blunt, our people were rendering care, doing their job. As much as I love the firefighter that was in the back in this accident, he was stupid. Why are you in the back without a seatbelt on, getting geared up on your way to a structure fire, going that fast? Like, there's a lot that went on here that was just stupid.
So I'm going to stop you. As he was telling that story, how many of you were checking off contributing factors? So what were some of them? Speed. What else?
Distraction.
Okay. What else? Seatbelt was a contributing factor to the injury. Right? I'm going to speak to that real quick. Let's be honest. If you were three-handed in an engine and you had your bunker in an ambulance, how many of you have or have done something similar in the back of an engine or an ambulance? You're all lying if you don't raise your hand. So, was he stupid? Maybe. All of you, that's the answer, right? All of us do that. I've done it, right? You have to understand there comes tremendous risk if you do. It's the second most likely thing that's going to gobble you up. All right, and we don't think anything about it. We need to start thinking a little bit more about it, okay? I'm going to talk about and highlight some of those contributing factors when we get to the end. Crashes at intersections. Fatal ambulance crashes are more likely to occur at intersections. Ours, that one, okay? That is a very common place where we have serious accidents occur. One of the things that this city has done to mitigate that is what? Opticom. So we have traffic control devices that allow for us to turn the intersection lights in our favor. Okay. Can that breed complacency? Absolutely it can. All right. But we understand in this city absolutely the likelihood of an intersection related accident. All right. You have to know that as a responder, the place you're most likely to get gobbled up is in an intersection. You have to treat those accordingly, okay? Crashes by time of day. How many of you, before you looked at that, would have thought crashes were more common at night? Okay, most people do. It's darker, I can't see things, intruding into traffic, whatever. I'm an old man, so I have to wear glasses at night, or everything I see is just halos. I call them my night vision goggles, all right? But most crashes happen during the day. Now, I think that's mostly due to higher traffic volumes, higher pedestrian volumes, higher call volumes for us. I just think that's a statistical, realistic thing. But You're going to get hurt more often by time of day. By the way, do we tend to drive faster during the day or at night? We drive faster during the day. Crashes by road conditions. How many of you, before you read that, would have thought bad road conditions equal more fatal accidents? Nope. Dry roads. Dry roads in daytime is where you're most likely to get gobbled up. Weather conditions. You do get more accidents during clear weather than you do fatal or during bad weather. Why? What do we tend to do during bad weather?
Drive safer.
Drive safer. We're more cautious. All right. Funny story. A couple of you know who Gordon Graham is. Gordon Graham is the guy that does Lexapol. You've seen some of his videos, or maybe if you get the chance to sit through one of his lectures, it's a rite of passage in this job. You have to. He's hilarious. He is a nutty professor. He is a former California Highway Patrol. He retired at some official level out of Sacramento. He started off as a motorcycle cop. He was a technical advisor on the show Chips, which is what put him through law school. He figured he would do divorces for firefighters and cops and always have stable income. He's a smart guy, right? Was a motor cop, got promoted to sergeant, right? And then got promoted over one of the precincts there. In the state of California, when do you think California Highway Patrol is most likely to bugger up their cars? When it rains. It doesn't snow in California. It rains in California. So he started, nutty as this can be, so he's all about risk management, this guy, right? Funny dude. He made it so that his precinct, when he was out, he would call over the radio and be like, district, or whatever, dispatch, chief, or whatever his call sign was. Go ahead. Would you please broadcast that it's raining? And they'd be like, copy, you want us to broadcast to all units that it's raining? Affirmative. Broadcast all units that it's raining. They're like, okay. They do a warble tone. Per nutty ass Captain Graham, it's raining. Guess what happened to the number of accidents when they got notified that it was raining over the radio? It decreased substantially. Substantially.
What's so funny about that?
All right.
You would think they wouldn't need the prompt.
But a silly little thing like that changes your mindset, right? And mindset is a big deal when we're operating our vehicles. By the way, who knows what this one is?
Lehigh.
It's Lehigh. What happened in this accident?
Ran an intersection.
And
He
a
had
young lady in that car died. All right. Do you think that operator thinks about that every day? Yeah, it does. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. All right.
That's North Davis one that's.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute too.
While you were showing pictures.
I know.
Okay.
Of the individuals killed in the 173 fatal crashes between this time, 40% were occupants of the ambulance. 53% of occupants of other vehicles involved in the crash. 7% were pedestrians or bicyclists. Boy, could you imagine clipping somebody out on the road? 47.5 or 45.7% of fatal crashes, we already know this, occurred when lights and sirens were active. You have to be mindful of what happens when you're running lights and sirens. What do most people do when you're running lights and sirens? They do stupid shit, right? Let's just leave it at that. What tends to happen to us when we run lights and sirens? We tend to get amped, right? Is that a distraction?
Yes.
Is the stress of the incident you're responding to a distraction? Depends. If it's 5 out the back pain over on Owens, you're probably not too stressed, right? If it's a suspected fatal CPR in progress on Main Street, is it possible you're going to get amped? Does that change your situational awareness? It does. It absolutely does. Chief Mom.
The Logan incident, that wasn't mentioned, but they were responding on a structure fire. Structure fires are going to get you more hand, especially one that someone reports working.
By the way, okay, so there's the distinction. How many of you have noticed of late that we get dispatched as fire structure on a lot of stuff that when you look at iSpy, you're like, that's not an effing structure fire. And yet you'll jump in the BRT, big red truck, you'll jump in the BRT and you'll haul ass to some address only to get canceled or slowed en route. Just think if you blew an intersection at Wasatch and Gentile, or Gordon and Fort Lane, or whatever. That's horrible. Don't be that person, all right? Almost 92.6% of the ones that are involved are attributable to us, all right? Are attributable to us, the operator of the vehicle, okay? Lack of proper restraint in the cabin by us and the patients is cited in the reports. 8.8% of clinicians are properly restrained. Less than 10% of us in the back of the rig are properly restrained. Now I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't think I ever once, is that us? I don't think I ever once wore a seatbelt in the back of the ambulance. Ever. Ever. Even in Missoula, Montana, where those guys are batshit crazy. I never, okay? That was wrong of me to do. Now, back when Chief Mon and I worked at the Davis County Ambulance together, a seatbelt would have absolutely hindered our ability to render care to a patient. In your new restraint systems, is that true? Likely not. Likely not. I know there's going to be times that you're not going to wear a seatbelt in the back. That's fine. But what I do ask / expect is that in those instances where you can, should, or ought to, that you do. Fair enough? Let's at least move that to 60%, all right, instead of 8. 95% of patients were restrained in some manner. Less than 18% of them were secured using all of the belts. Have you ever listened to Luke Embley talk about how important this is? It's a big damn deal. If you catch yourself not putting shoulder straps on, not putting all the litter straps on, you are asking for a problem. Okay, you first.
One thing about that.
Yep.
Because I went through a training with Stryker once. There is a proper way for the seatbelts to be attached to the gurney, and it was very frequently a while ago that I kept finding them improperly
That's a great point.
attached to the gurney.
That's a great point.
So
And thanks for looking for that.
Yeah, make sure you guys check, because when some people switch out the seatbelts because we don't have the right belt, they put it on wrong.
Yeah.
And if that was put on wrong, we got in a crash, that person died, and they saw how it was tied on, we're screwed.
Yep. Chief Mom?
In our most recent investigation with our ambulance crash, do you think that question was asked, whether the patient was seat belted into and using shoulder straps? It was.
Yeah.
And do you think the question was asked if our crew was wearing their safety harnesses? It was. The question was asked, were they in policy by not having them on? They were. Do you think we need to tighten up our policy on what active patient care means?
Yeah.
Possibly.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that and what we all can do for one another in that. So great point, thank you. Not every accident is a serious one or our fault, okay? I'm, what?
Mitchell's.
But it wasn't Mitchell's fault, okay? You are going to be involved as an operator or passenger or in your capacity at this place in an incident that is not your fault. Are they still going to ask questions? Yes. If you know you're doing the right things, if you're following our policies, if you're being prudent and responsible, if you have good situational awareness, they understand, they being the city folks and these guys, they understand that there are circumstances that are beyond your control where we're going to have some kind of mishap involving our rigs. It sucks, and I'll go through why here in a minute, but just understand they're still going to question you. You're still going to get a conversation in an ARB. You're still going to have to do all your paperwork. So let's talk quickly about that. I didn't put this in. So say you're involved in an accident or an injury on the job that is or isn't your fault. What do you have to fill out? What do you have to fill out? What did I have to fill out? Okay, initial report of accident, right? So we get on and I'm like, time of day, this was me, this is where it happened, and you fill in and do the dots and all the things about that. That's the initial first report, right, of the accident. Who does it go to after that? Who do you work for today?
I work for Captain Bauman.
Okay, who do you think your first, by the way, don't have this happen today. Who do you think your first report of injury or accident goes to?
Go ahead.
To her. What does she do with it?
I get another one.
She goes on there and she's like, I've reviewed this, I've talked with, I concur with, this is my perspective of, da-da-da-da-da-da. She hits send. Who's it go to? Chief Beach. Chief Beach is like, damn, I wish this wouldn't happen. No, he doesn't put that down. Oh, I can't believe this happened again. Now this is going to negatively affect my evaluation. No, he doesn't do all those things. He looks for completeness. Then what happens to it? Goes to the chief officer's desk and then goes to the city. Is there a policy on how quickly after an accident or injury that has to occur?
Yes.
There is. Get on it. Now, I would tell you, if it's a mishap, if it's an injury at training or whatever, and it's not a serious one, you guys all know what I'm talking about, right? Do it now. Do it right this second. But I would encourage you, if you're involved in a serious event, to take a few minutes, to get your heart rate down, to calm down, and then take a few more minutes when you're past the emotional, reactionary, overreactionary, highly emotionally charged part of what's going to happen to you, and then write your report. Be objective, be honest, right? There's about 2 things in this city that are going to get you fired like right now, right? One of them is don't do drugs on duty, don't be drunk, stoned, stupid, all that kind of shit, right? The other one is don't lie. Unless you were driving drunk, stoned, stupid, or whatever, then you're going to get fired anyway. You might as well lie about it, right? Okay? But, all right, don't lie. You heard me say I didn't go to my disciplinary hearing, right? Why? I owned it. Like there's nothing for me to say, right? Just own it. The city manager, the city organization that we work for is very understanding. That doesn't mean they like it. Doesn't mean they're happy about it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they're very understanding of the consequences of our job and the nature with which you guys all have to act, react, and think. But they also understand there's things that we can do to prevent some of these things. Just own them. We've had people lose promoted positions over vehicle accidents that they lied about. We have people that should have or ultimately did lose their jobs over vehicle accident. By the way, minor ones, stupid one, that they were untruthful about. By the way, does the truth always come out?
Yes.
Yes, it does. And if you get a conversation that goes like this, hey, Anita, we just want to reconfirm what you told us. What does that mean?
Real bleeders.
We know the truth. We're giving you an opportunity to come clean. By the way, the city manager sat in this room and made this statement. I know when you first get confronted and we put your back to the wall, your natural tendency is going to want to be to limit your damage. And people have a tendency to not be as truthful and transparent as they should. He said that. Now, you should just do what I did. Be like, I did it. Call the cops. I did it. All right. But they know that your natural tendency is to be like, hey, no, like I totally didn't. Okay. They're going to give you another chance. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. Don't lose your damn job backing into a pole because you did something wrong and you're afraid you're going to get some discipline. All right? Don't be dumb. Own your mistakes, okay? Others are very definitely our fault. Right? Anybody know what happened here?
Lost out of the back.
We backed an ambulance into an engine that was parked in the fire station. How does that happen? There was a backer. By the way, in as many years, 2 or 3 years, we've had at least 2 that I'm aware of, incidents where we've had damage to a vehicle while there was a backer behind us.
More than a few.
More than a few.
Motorcycle lower.
Okay, so, right? And there's a new policy.
Who would've done that?
Right? So, the point of that is, do you have a job as a backer other than just being some fixture behind a rig? Yes, you do. And what you should think to yourself that you're doing is keeping your partner from getting their ass in trouble. You're not just back there like, your whole job is to keep them from hitting shit. all right? Don't let them do it, which means you have to position yourself where they can see you. And if they can't see you, get seen, get loud, stop them. Don't let them do what they're about to do. This is not an appropriate thing to do afterwards. Oh, shoot, I was like doing this, right? Like, that's not okay, all right? Use your backers. And by saying use your backers, that doesn't mean have somebody back there. That is not a passive function. Be a backer. Don't have a backer, be a backer. Chief Mom.
We've recently changed our backing policy. Can anybody from officers meeting or from when we sent it out, what is some of the new tools we should be using?
Wireless headsets.
Wireless headsets when available, right? How many engines have wireless headsets in them? Except for maybe engine 2, right? How
It
many-
can be wireless.
How many?
It gets to you about the
10 or 15 foot mark.
Yeah.
How many of you carry a radio on your belt? We have, because of these things, we've had to institute some different things. Use all of the tools available when you're a backer, meaning multiple backers if necessary. And then there's also the caveat, if you're by yourself, and I've done this many times, in the cul-de-sac or something, when we've got to get out of a truck and we're by ourselves, move forward, get out, go back. I've done it a dozen times. When I was a captain on an engine, having to get out of it, so like Jason has, I'm sure, Mark has, you get out like 6 times, like, oh, I'm still not, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I've Austin powered the shit out of
Yeah.
stuff before.
We have new rules that we need to be following with our backers.
Let me talk real quick about the radio thing. I'm going to steal something from the aviation side of my life. If we're on approach into somewhere and we are watching out of the aircraft for something that's going to jump up and bugger us out, we don't say to the pilot like, hey, don't know if you saw those power lines over to your right. We say very quickly, very succinctly, abort, abort, abort. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, it's not a conversation, it's stop. If you're a person that's on the radio and you're being a backer and they're about to do something, don't be like, hey, don't stop trying to figure out who your buddy is and which rate they're in. Like, am I on 53 today or 533? Stop, stop, stop. Okay, now you're going to announce to the entire damn county that you just saved your partner's ass from going through a bunch of nightmares. All right, that makes you a cool person, not a dork.
That's hero
All
shit
right.
there.
Huh?
I said that's hero shit right
Yeah,
there.
that's hero shit right there.
I could add something real fast.
Please
Jason.
do.
I hate to say this because it was Logan. But one day Logan was back in the end and I was watching my mirror and then I turned to check my other side and he had some hand signal and he chewed my ass for not watching him. He goes, I got that other side. You don't need to watch that other side. I got it. You watch me. And I'm
Was
like,
Logan
"Damn, you
being
got
a backer that day? I'm with you. I don't want to give Logan any more credit than we need to.
Yeah.
But good for him.
Yeah, he chewed
That's
my ass
proactive.
'cause I was not watching him.
This is door on the ladder truck. Now, I don't know the contributing factor to it, but I bet I can guess. How do we avoid things like that from happening?
Walk around.
Do a walk around.
I did.
Do, huh?
I did.
And?
But I did not.
She should walk right under that open door.
By the way, we've had that happen around here before.
When I
Engine
came
4.
around the corner, just full force opened it up.
It
but
wasn't much.
because
Yeah.
I was pulling forward into the bay and it was dark outside, I did not see that it had.
So again, I'm gonna actually draw from the aviation side. I'm guessing he probably does this too. When I do my walk around, I have touch points on the aircraft. And I actually touch to make sure that things are secure. All right? And I know what they are. It's part of my routine. You should probably be in the habit of pushing on some of your doors, especially the most frequently opened or closed ones. All right? Make sure, or just give them a little tug, just to see if they're going to pop open. That's probably even the smarter thing to do. But go ahead.
Like I say, that's always was part of my routine.
Yep.
When I was driving or when I was a captain and having to drive to the hospital. I don't care how long that engine had been sitting there, 5 minutes or less. I walked around on every single door and I pulled it open, or I tried to pull it open. And because it was my routine, and I've told many of the people in this room that that's what I did, because that was my routine, I always had that routine.
Well, and here's the flip side of that. I've been on duty when somebody dispatched, Debbie Pettyjohn's come across and been like, engine 54, it wasn't 54, that's why I'm using this one. Engine 54, Layton, go ahead. Were you the vehicle that was just driving down Gordon? Affirmative. Just had a caller report that the cooler and several other pieces of equipment out of your rig are in the middle of the road. Yeah, that's a bad day, right?
It's happened.
Is that, yes, it has. Is it preventable? Yes, it's preventable, all right? Okay. I don't know what the circumstance is behind that, but it's more damage. All right, what?
I know that.
I don't want to hear any more of your damn stories.
This one's fair, this one's
Okay.
funny. We went into a
It's not
call. We came out and it was cracked.
All right. Well, then I'll move that one to the not our fault, okay? But the point being is there are instances or occurrences or mishaps, however you want to phrase them, that are going to happen as a course and scope of what we do. It's just our reality. And I will make that argument. I will defend you as much as I possibly can about that. But you have to understand, there's things that we do that we bring on ourselves, right? And I can't defend. I can't defend my own. I'm certainly not going to defend yours if they're not defensible. All right? So keep that in mind, all right? By the way, this rig, well, let's talk about a couple of these things. We've talked about a few of these. I want you to give me some examples when I call on you. Distractions. MDT. That's a good one. Except for you guys, it shouldn't be. Why? There's two of you in your rig. One of you should be paying attention to the MDT, and who should that not be? The driver. In my circumstance, it was a contributing factor to my first vehicle, or first accident. I'm the only one in the rig. I have to look. I will tell you, I just happened to me last shift. I have occasions where I get so busy looking at the MDT, I think to myself, oh God, I haven't looked at the road for I don't know how, like literally, I probably drove a quarter mile the other day, Gordon up Gordon Avenue, and could have run over somebody, hit somebody that was like 100%, I still do it. You have to be mindful. Give me another example of a distraction.
Ambulance 51's camera.
The camera, okay.
That was like watching a video.
Okay, so electrical equipment in the rig, what else? Phone. By the way, have we had people get disciplined using their phone while driving the rigs around here? Yes. I promise you, there's no better way to get a phone call to the fire chief than you driving a rig, looking at your phone, and Joe Q Public, which by the way, how many of you except for you, and you know what vehicle the city manager drives? He's in this city every day. So is the city attorney. So is the HR director. You don't know what kind of cars they're in. You want to know how I know that? Because I've been on duty before and had somebody call me and be like, hey, so-and-so just called. Why aren't you wearing your seatbelt? And I can't lie because I'll get fired for lying. And I'd say, well, you should know that. I never wear my seatbelt. Okay? That's not the right answer, by the way. And by the way, if you see me now, I wear my seatbelt. All right? I hate it, but I do it. All right? So, what other distractions? Can your partner be a distraction? Yes.
About the partner in the back of the ambulance.
Yes.
Maybe a distraction.
Yeah.
Can the nature of the event that you're going on be a distraction? Can the drama going on at home be a distraction? Can the drama at the fire station going on be a distraction? That's why the TSA owns my Hellcat gun. Different story, it was still a distraction, okay? So distractions are probably the single number one thing that contribute to our accidents around here. On the training ground, around the station, driving, whatever. If you are behind the wheel, or if you're in your rig, pay attention. Situational awareness, what do I mean by that? Why don't you pen that transfer for a minute? If it's not ALS, it's BLS. I'm almost done. I have 2 slides left. What do I mean by situational awareness?
Being aware of your surroundings.
Being aware of your surroundings. My first accident,
I'm gonna pen that transfer.
there were cars backed up in a very unusual place. I've never seen cars backed up there before. And yet, that's what caused that. I had zero situational awareness of what was going on. Pay attention to what's happening. Check yourself, check your partner. Have good situational awareness. Impairment, what do I mean by that?
Tired.
Okay, thank you. That's the one I was hoping to get at. I think I've got it on here there. But fatigue or stress, but impairment. So let's go to the obvious ones. God damn it, if you've got, even if it's completely innocent, you're sick, I'm going to give you another story. I was with Mark Hoyt and John Pettyjohn one Sunday morning. We were out, we were busy. I had a screaming ass headache. Right? We happened to be by Station 55. Do you know where Station 55 is? It's our house. Okay. We happened to be by Station 55. So I said, I'm going to run home and grab some Tylenol. Right? So I ran into the house, grabbed a bottle of Tylenol, poured about 4 or 5 in my hand. I had a Coke right there, drank the Coke, threw the Tylenol in my body, and we headed up to Station 52, where we were all assigned at the time. About 30, 40 minutes later, it's Sunday. What do you do on Sunday? You take a pants off nap. I'm like, I'm going to take a pants off nap. All right, I got a headache. I'm going to go lay down. At 8 o'clock in the morning the following day, I came stumbling, boots still on, fully dressed, right? I came stumbling out, and I was like, oh my God, like, holy shit. That was the best night's sleep I ever had. And Hoyt, in his typical calm way, said, well, no shit, do you think? And I'm like, that's harsh. What do you mean? And he goes, well, Jesus, you took about 15 Tylenol PMs. And I'm all, no, I didn't. And he goes, the fuck you didn't. I'm all, you're stupid. And I went out and I had emptied the bottle. I didn't even know I'd grabbed the bottle of Tylenol PM. And I had taken probably like several hundred milligrams of Benadryl. Was that a problem? That was a huge problem. If I'd have been, if I'd have been involved in something, what would have happened to me that night? I'd have been terminated. No question about it. I'd have been terminated. So even innocent stuff can jump up and bite you in the ass. If you're sick and you're taking medications likely to affect you, stay home. All right? But just then, fire alarm commercial, North not us. So that's what we mean by impairment. Now let's go over to this one because they're sometimes synonymous. Fatigue. How many of you, what's your riding position today?
5 pylons of medicated.
Okay, that's not a good example. Where are you going?
Ambulance driver.
You're driving today. If you get your ass handed to you, is it totally okay to look at your partner and be like, hey, I gotta tap out. I shouldn't drive today. Is it gonna make you a favorite with your partner? Maybe not, right? Maybe not, I don't know. Is it still the right thing to do? Yes. When Mark and I and Scott were raised in this job, Lance were raised in this job around here, we had to stay busy doing stuff all day long. All day long. Is that the expectation of you? Have we ever said, if you're racked out, beat out, tired, that we're not going to let you take a nap? How many of you have been told to go get some rest around here before?
My crew better raise their hand.
Yeah. It is a very,
Don't worry.
it's a very different environment from what we were raised in. We understand the effects of fatigue. What about stress? Can the stress be all the things I talked about before? Stress at home, stress at work. Yes, it is fatigue. It's a mentally, emotionally fatiguing. Manage your stress. We've got better ways than we've ever had before here. That first responders first group, man, I'm not, if you've been around me much, I'm a pull yourself up by your bootstraps, throw your shoulders back, do your damn job kind of a guy, right? But I gotta tell you, those first responders first folks, they're awesome. They're phenomenal. They're really good people. I'm going to spend a lot of time with them offloading a ton of shit before I retire here soon. Okay? Use them. Find a person, find a buddy, phone a friend, get somebody here or elsewhere in your life to help you offload. This is an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling job, but it can also be taxing on you or your life away from here. Deal with it well. Okay? So that you can come here and have 30 years plus of a job that you've loved every day. Fair enough? How have I not picked on you yet?
Hi.
He stayed quiet. He took his medication.
Speaking of overconfidence, Bronson, what's that?
Please like I did so many times.
What do I mean by complacency or overconfidence?
Not be the only thing that comes to my head is just not being to your surroundings. Yeah,
I would describe it as this, being too cool for school. Not doing shit you should be doing that contributes to it, right? Oh, I got this. I've been here for 30 years, right? I've been there. You don't know what I know, whatever, right? By the way, there's some of your counterparts that have been here for 2 or 3 years that have got really significant confidence. They're full of confidence. And get their asses humbled really soon someday, all right? But you can be overconfident. I'm gonna go back to my aviation job. That's a no shit business, right? I'm in the office, I don't fly. I can tell you now that I've separated myself from the day-to-day flying, I was tremendously complacent. I was tremendously overconfident. I was a danger to my partners and myself. That's a hard thing to admit about yourself, but it was true, okay? You can get too cool for school for this job. If somebody gives you that look, or if somebody has, like, hey, Will, maybe, sorry, I shouldn't use it. All right, but like, if somebody says to you, hey, maybe, take that as a clue, right? Cops call that a clue. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. There's a reason that phrase exists, okay? All right, routines, we've already talked about that. Vehicle familiarity. Who's in engine 2 right now, driving it? Huh? Brig. Okay, well that's not a good example. No. But engine 2, how many of you routinely drive engine 2? None of you? All right. How many of you have spent time driving?
Lately.
But if you're not familiar with the piece of equipment, if you're not familiar with the vehicle, and I mean familiar with it, get familiar with it. If you get assigned to drive a piece of equipment on any given day, and it's just foreign to you, go to your, how crazy do you think it'd be if you went to your captain and you're like, hey Cap, I've never driven the Kodiak. We're assigned to it today for wildland coverage. I've never been in it. Do you care if we go buzz around town for an hour or so? What is your captain gonna say?
Absolutely.
Don't wreck it. That's all they're gonna say. But yes, that's responsible. That's proactive. That's being smart. You should probably go drive it in the back parking lot first, then pretend like you're 16 and you're driving something for the first time. Go where you're not going to ding it up, then go to somewhere where you're less likely to ding it up, then go to somewhere where you could ding it up, but don't. You understand what I'm saying? But be proactive with vehicles that you've been asked to drive that you never have. You were going to say something.
Do you think I should go out and drive engine 12?
No.
I don't think so either. Okay, I probably need to spend some time with David and Mark or somebody before I go drive engine 12.
Sure. Speed, yeah.
I just want to go, the last 3, complacency, routines, vehicle familiarity, you can get a lot of that, I think, complacence with our checks in general, of walking out in the bay and, okay, sounds good, well, the last crew checked it, or, right, and how many people in our ADO class we learn that every Monday we're supposed to be, per policy, tilting the cab on the engines, right? It's one of those things that you can become familiar with your vehicle, you get yourself in a routine, and you can eliminate that complacency.
Yep. And and you may not realize this, but the old farts in this room will tell you unequivocally, if you do that, whoever you are, I'm looking at him now, but if you do that, you will prevent something that you'll never even understand that you prevented. It might be 2 years down the road, you've prevented something because you've developed a habit or a routine or a plan, or you have identified something. That's exactly the shit you should be doing. Good for you. All right. 1039 versus and the speed that we drive. In this city, you driving lights and sirens to an incident. Let's just say we're all here right now and you have a diff breathing at Northridge High School. How much time are you actually saving yourself? Okay, nationally, statistically, you're likely saving yourself less than about 90 seconds to 2 minutes is the national statistics. All right? Let me tell you something. If your patient was going to die for 2 minutes of a response difference for you, they were probably going to die anyway. They might not die in the moment. All right? But my point is this. We convince ourselves, because let's be honest, it's one of the coolest parts of our job. We get to drive opposite traffic. We get to make a lot of effing noise. All right? We turn the lights and sirens on. Everybody knows that we're going to do some hero shit, all right? And we get to go fast. It's cool. It's you guys' equivalent of breaking shit. You guys love to break shit these days. I don't get it, right? Open a door first. Just try it. It might be open. All right? Anyway. Sidebar. All right? But speed. If you haven't heard yet, this is the part of the lecture where I get to tell you, I would absolutely fire myself today for the shit I did every day for most of my career. I drove way too fast. I don't ever feel like I was reckless. I don't. But I will tell you that I absolutely drove way too fast, way too often for shit that didn't matter. All right? You have to slow down. 1039 is basically not lights and sirens driving, with your lights and sirens on, asking for the right of way, and expecting that they're not going to give it to you. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to drive. Luke Embley is the one that you're going to learn how to drive. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you don't need your lights and sirens on, turn them off. By policy, when you get updates on your MDT that require you to either escalate or slow, do that. There is nothing in the world worth getting in an accident for a diabetic that you are going to get a release on anyway. Don't do it. I cannot implore you enough. Lights and sirens changes everything for the public, for you. If you don't need them, don't use them. If you use them responsibly, please. All right? Yes.
To add to that, because I've noticed some things over the last 2 years. There is quite a bit, and it's getting better slowly, of people understanding the speeds. Abby's a great example, because I rode with her a while back, and she hadn't run code much, and she's like, I'm gonna do this slow and a little bit above. I'm like, perfect, until you get comfortable to go a little bit faster in due regard. But on the flip side, there's quite a few of us that speed just driving around town. Watch your speed limits. Like, we seriously, there's been several people I've ridden with that I'm like, why the fuck are we going 20 over the speed limit right now?
What
And
does
I'm
the
guilty
policy
of it.
say?
10 to 15, isn't it?
Actually, no, there is no attached speed
It's
to it.
not a maximum.
What does it
speed.
say?
Do regard.
For what?
Safety.
Okay, road conditions,
Road
pedestrian, traffic, due regard, right?
Urgency of the calls in there.
Right. Okay, I would highly encourage all of you, if you haven't looked at that policy recently, to do so. I'm gonna give you two in a nutshell. Slow down. Slow down.
That also helps the Opticom system work.
Yes.
That's a major investment. We're the only city that I know of in Utah that has Opticoms on every single intersection in our city. There's some cities that have corridors, just some main arterials, they might have them, but as far as I know, we're the only city that has them on every intersection. That was a major investment, and it's in our traffic engineering city code. So every new intersection you're gonna have that. But if you're driving due regard, you're driving safe, utilizing that, understanding it takes a while with pedestrians, it will delay that Opticom to trigger, that you have to, it may be red for some time, so we always stop. And as someone who was in an engine with a city that had Opticoms at every intersection that got hit by a vehicle going 60, it still happens, you know, and that's because we didn't wait for it to change. When our driver made a mistake, did stop and did start to proceed through, and we were hit in our engine by a Cadillac going about 60. And it was not fun. It hurt for a long time. But yeah, if you do utilize that, that allows that Opticom to work the way it's supposed to work.
By the way, I'm gonna get to you in a sec. By the way, even with Opticoms, knowing what I've showed you, as you approach an intersection, even if we've got a green, should you be covering your brake and anticipating badness happening? I don't know about you all, but when I drive around in my own POV in this city and in others, I cannot believe the number of people that drive through red lights anymore. And it's like blatant. It's like, mother effer, if you had any, like if I were a cop, like I'm tempted even in my cop car to just light them up and scare the shit out. I don't. All right. I want to.
We talked about this.
All right, I'm
right
shitting with you. But mostly. But having said that, like you have to plan on the fact that somebody's going to jump up and bite you in an intersection, even if you've got a right of way. You have to, right? You have to. By the way, if you're the person on the right, you be actively involved in looking. Clear right, you're clear right. I do it to my wife, right? How many of you clear when you're driving with somebody? Right, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking
all
about?
the time.
Never mind, you're clear this way, right? Like, if you're not in the business, you don't get it.
My wife.
But clear your part, yeah, I know, all of ours. All right, backing, we've talked about it enough. Be a backer. Don't just have a backer, be a backer. Stop, stop, stop. All right? Policy adherence. Should be without saying, right? And then lack of training. If you're not familiar with the rig, go get in a rig. Do the things you need to do to train to be comfortable, competent operators of your rigs. And again, I keep talking about vehicle stuff. Same thing on the training ground. If you're not familiar with the saw or a piece of equipment or something that's likely to jump up and bite us, get confident with it. Spend some time with it so that you don't get bit by it. All right? Here's the consequences of this. Injuries. To who? The public. All right. By the way, injuries to the public. Are they a bad thing? Yes. What is the city going to do if we have injuries to the public? They're going to write a check. They're going to write a check. By the way, is that a small check? Are they like, oh, I only want you to cover the cost of my ambulance? What are they? No, they're not. All right. How many requests for reports do we get on a weekly basis?
Too many.
Several a day.
5 to 6, 6 to 7.
A week?
At least.
Okay, so let's say 6 to 7. Now, they're not all coming at you. In fact, most of them aren't. But if an attorney finds something in there that they can come after you for, are they gonna? I was recently an expert witness on one of those cases. I was a witness for the defense. The guys did fine. Case settled as it should have. It should have never been brought. But the day and age of people being like, you guys do hero shit, we're never going to come after you, that's not true. And if you're a contributing factor to an accident, by the way, even if it's not your fault, now we don't know all the details yet, but seemingly our recent accident, not at fault for it. Are they trying to make us at least partially at fault for that? Yes, they are. They're going to do that. Avoid it altogether if you can, when and where you can.
Finally, it took 100%.
Okay, good. Injuries to the public, bad. Injuries to us, is that bad? Yeah. And it's not just the obvious one. Nobody wants to be hurt. But nobody wants to come in and work for the person that got hurt. And especially to get mandatory. Those of you that have been hurt, that have to work with workman's comp, how fun is that? It's not. It's horrible. So we need to do everything we can for you to get a boo-boo up to hospitalized by being smart and prudent and responsible. Don't hurt yourself or others in the way that we operate. It is not worth it. If you could have slowed down, if you could have spent a little bit of more time training or practicing, okay? All right, time off work, I already talked about that. There's a huge factor that affects all of us when we've got our compadres off, okay? Not a good thing. By the way, if you're that person that's stuck off work, you're like, sweet, I'm going to grow a beard. I'm going to watch a full series of Blacklist. I'm going to do all the shit that I wanted to do. That sounds fun for about a week. And then guess what happens? Your wife or significant other is like, you need to get your ass out of here. You need to get a hobby. Not on the days that you're supposed to be at work because then you're breaking policy. But I'm sick of you. Okay? Like being off work seems awesome, but when you're injured, it's not like you're going to go hiking. Right? It's not like you're going to go whatever. All right?
When you're on light duty, it's awesome.
It's not fun, all right?
Yeah, nobody's agreeing with that.
I'm on light duty and I tell you I don't want it.
Yeah, right? Apparatus out of service. Has this affected us? Yes. Right? It has. A rig being out of service is a big deal, right? It's not just the financial stuff that we're going to talk about, but just having rigs out of service, does it throw us for a loop? How thrilled are we to just have an ambulance back here and not have it turning us upside down? Just that. All right? So out of service time for our rigs, big deal. Repair and replacement costs. How much? Let's just leave it at this. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Was that budgeted? Does the city just have that shit laying around? Well, weirdly they do. Okay. Okay, but was that money that was otherwise earmarked or anticipated for something else? It was. Does that negatively affect the city operationally in some capacity or another? Now you might say, well, that was insured. The city's going to get paid back for that. Are we going to get paid back for the replacement value of that?
Nope.
Oh my God, not even close. Not even
We
close.
just got it today.
372,000.
Okay, there you go. And the replacement cost was?
893.
Okay, we took it in the ass for that amount of, that's a bad example, okay, don't say that. But like, we, like, not good, right? Now again, not our fault. But what if it was our fault? That's not good, all right? That's a big deal. Litigation. How many of you have sat across from an attorney yet? A couple of us have. Fun time, Lance?
No.
No, not fun at all. Not fun one bit. You question everything about what you and your partners did. If you get involved in an accident that's your fault, there's a fairly good chance there's going to be litigation involved. Now, are you going to have to sit in a courtroom or with an attorney? Maybe not their attorney. You might have to sit with our attorney to answer some questions or to make sure that, you know, that we've conformed to policy and all those things. Not fun. All right? Not fun. Go ahead.
Just to add to that, the other week I was talking to Mark Weeks and he mentioned their accident where a person was killed.
So give everybody the backstory of that because
So-
it's going to play into this
Yeah,
last one
okay.
here in a minute.
So North Davis, they're taking a patient to Ogden Regional. They go through a light and there was a car, they were against the red. There was a car going through.
They were going to the hospital, lights and sirens.
Lights and sirens, yeah, going lights and sirens.
With a, by the way, perceived but not critical patient. Stable vital signs, everything.
Yeah.
Perceived. Okay?
So
Keep
hit the
going.
car, killed one of the passengers. Mark Weeks told me it took him 10 years to get through all of it. And it was fighting charges of automobile homicide or whatever they charged him with, can't remember. But yeah, he had charges. He says it was 10 years of his life.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
There is an article almost weekly that firefighters being jailed
Yep.
and ruined careers.
Yep. For all the reasons and things we talked about.
Yep.
I want to get to this one right here. You talked about the young man from North Davis that was involved. I know who he is. You're great. You know who he is. Right, wrong, or otherwise. He's part of the brotherhood, sisterhood. He's part of the family. Every time I look at that guy, I think to myself, he's the dude that killed the person. Right, wrong, or otherwise. I think to myself, he's the dude that killed the person. Do you think he carries that with him all the time? Yes. Do you think agencies that are involved in serious and or fatal accidents suffer from public image after that? Yes. Do you want this place to have that? Do you want to be the contributing factor to it? Do you want to be the person that everybody says he or she is the person that killed somebody? On top of that, there's the public persona, then there's the persona of our peer group and outside department, whatever, right? There's also this, and I'm deliberately finishing on this for a reason. Even if it's not your fault, no matter what the circumstances are, these things where we're in the eyes of the city leadership, HR, legal, city manager, his or her, whatever, when fire is always involved in a conversation, do you think that positively or negatively affects the city manager's view of us as an organization? Negatively. How might that negatively affect our organization?
Budgetary.
Budget. Maybe. He said
Equipment.
raises. Maybe. What else?
Equipment.
Equipment. Whether you think it happens or no, just think of your own lives. You've had somebody that just bugs the shit out of you or wronged you or whatever. They're just under your skin, right? Your feelings about how you want to interact with them, how much you want to engage with them, how much you're willing to offer them, the person you are going to be to that person changes because of that relationship. I will tell you right now, and I'm to blame as much as anybody, we are in the eyes of the city manager and legal and HR too much right now. Again, not all our fault, right? How do you say to the city manager, that's not our fault? And he's like, I know it's not your fault, but shit, I gotta come up with $425,000 right now. Thank God Wilkes is Wildland, apparently he's got a ton of money in it. By the way, it's not from there. The only budget that's got tons of money is EMS, but that's a different story. All right. But still, it's one of those things. And when that phone call comes to him right after we've had an accident, And hospitalizations and injuries and those kind of things, again, not our fault, but it's just one more thing after one more thing after one more thing. And then I record, right? And then we have somebody get hurt or whatever. I'm telling you all this and finishing with this on purpose. Don't tarnish your reputation by doing something silly. Don't lie. Don't be impaired. Don't not use a backer. Don't do good pre-checks before you leave. Don't drive too fast. Don't drive a vehicle or operate equipment that's likely to harm you or somebody else unless you're very familiar with it, right? Don't do those things. Don't do them. There's zero reason in this department to do any of those things. Then you won't have a reputation of being a dingling, okay? There was a person on this department that was teed up to be one of our next promoted people, right? Everybody had tremendous confidence in this person, and it was earned. This person performed well, and this person got involved in a boneheaded, silly accident. And it, in my opinion, it completely changed the trajectory and the course of this person's career. So much so, you know who I'm talking about, don't you? Am I right? Affected their promotability, not because of that accident, but it just changed who this person was. How he perceived himself and how others perceived him, it negatively affected him. Be smart, be careful, slow down. Fair enough? Any questions you got about any of this? All right, who's going on the call?
It's just fire info.
Okay, who's going on the transfer?
We'll see.
All right.
Wait, talk to them. You can go ahead and break out that transfer now.
Whoever goes on the transfer, I'm asking you to go into training videos and watch the video about our helicopter response versus scene fights. Who in this room has not watched that video? Don't, it's okay. Like, don't, all right. I'm going to play the video. I'm asking all of you, it's only 15 minutes long, I'm asking all of you to stay because I want to make sure I address whatever questions, all right? No more, is there any questions about any of this? Anything you guys want to add? No, we're not done. We're not done.
I need to subtract some stuff.
What?
Only that I need to subtract some stuff.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of accidents, you guys that remember Andy Maxwell. He used to work for us part-time, Salt Lake City engineer. He was in a horrific accident down in I-15 in Cove Fort, got hit by a wrong-way driver, killed his nephew that was with him in the vehicle. He's got a long recovery. There's a GoFundMe out there for him.
He was blown out, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was, that truck was destroyed. Wrong-way driver, not his fault. 5:15 in the morning, hit by somebody from Florida driving on the wrong way down I-15. And so he's got multiple surgeries ahead, long road to recovery. It looks like they're gonna be able to save all of his limbs. But he's gonna be out for a long time. So there is a GoFundMe out there that a lot of people are sharing on Facebook. But he was a cherished member of this department part-time for a long time. Everybody loved Andy. Was just a fun guy to be around. He was with us for a number of years. His dad's a retired, worked for both Salt Lake City and UFA. Used to be a Davis County deputy paramedic as well. I knew him back in California. He and I were friends in California. So anyway, because support that GoFundMe if you could, because it's going to be, of course he's got insurance and all those kind of things, but there's just a lot of additional costs. As you know, he was the sole provider for the family. So it's gonna be a long recovery, so.
I don't know if you knew, his sister is one of the head nurses at IHC in the ER.
She's a MP.
MD?
Yeah.
She's still on the floor though, right?
She's in the ER.
She's still in the ER.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you'll see it out there. It's out there on Facebook. A lot of people have been sharing it. So we're trying to raise some money to keep him afloat for a while. He's got a long time. Well, he's gonna. I don't know how long he'll be out. I hope he can get back to work. Just a great guy.
I grew up with him.
Yeah, you knew Andy well. So
he knows Andy well.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not new, that would be
Knew him
past
when
tense,
he-
you're kind of freaking me out.
No.
He was a great guy.
He knows Andy well. Got a meeting.
What am I doing wrong? Okay. Hi, everybody. Thought we'd take a sec while Dr. O was up with one of his normal monthly visits to talk about a not new, but some information you probably heard from your officers after our last officers meeting regarding when should we maybe consider using a helicopter a little bit more frequently than we have probably in the past? When should we consider going up to one of the level 2 trauma centers up north? Or when is it that Davis is an appropriate destination for our trauma patients? The topic came up recently after a couple more notable incidents that we had. And after that, I kind of reached out to Dr. O and I said, you know, what are your thoughts on our practice now versus the way that we were maybe years ago? As we've evolved as a department and as a community, should we kind of re-examine where we're at with this? And so he spent some time kind of thinking about our approach to things. I talked with the chiefs, Chief Adams, Chief Mon and Chief Ward. We ate lunch with Chief Adams that day. About kind of our approach, and I think we've settled into a sweet spot of kind of a best practice moving forward. So we just wanted to spend a few minutes. So Mark, kind of maybe where we're at and what started some of this, kind of your thoughts.
Yeah, so as you know, we had a couple of challenging cases that came up during the month of August. Both of these were level 1 type trauma patients. One was a multiple gunshot wound, one was a pediatric patient. And unfortunately, both of them had less than desirable long-term outcomes. And I don't think we can pin that on any one particular reason. But it caused us, it was brought to my attention to kind of relook at, as an agency, what is our role and what can we do to maximize the best outcome for patients in the city of Layton who are suffering with critical trauma injuries. I've always been a very big proponent of getting the patient to definitive care. And I think over the years, I've also been one who has put a big emphasis on minimizing scene time, especially in trauma patients, trying to keep that less than 10 minutes. To the point that I've also given you a skill set that I feel mimics that of a helicopter, such that we don't need to be calling a helicopter in every case of trauma. We have the skills to do a lot of the care they do. We don't carry blood, but most other interventions we have. And we have the ability to get them to definitive care at McKay, which is our level 2 trauma center out here. I want to make a little differentiation between trauma centers. So McKay is a level 2. Davis Hospital is a level 3, and Layton Hospital is also a level 3. And then we have the university, we have primary, we have Intermountain, all level 1 centers. And there's quite a big difference when it comes to the capabilities of a level 1 center or a level 2 center versus a level 3 or 4. And there's quite a big gap between 1 and 2 and 3 in terms of what in-hospital care and surgical care consists of. In both of these patients we had, whether our hope was to rendezvous with a helicopter in the hospital, I think we realized that in both these scenarios, the patient had a need for critical advanced care. And we minimized scene time, we got them rapidly, in both cases to Davis Hospital, where they were brought into the ER for stabilizing care, but additional care beyond that. One of the patients actually went to the surgical suite. And, you know, both patients had critical injuries, both may have succumbed to their injuries no matter where they went. But when we're dealing with cases of critical trauma, we have guidelines that we can turn to that help guide us in care. And one of the things I sent to the chiefs is the national guideline for the field triage of injured patients, which categorizes patients either in red status or a yellow status. And this guideline gives us recommendations that if you fall in a red status, that these are the patients that really benefit from the highest level of trauma care. In most cases, that's a level 1, but level 2 has capabilities that can meet this in scenarios as well. And it's in those cases where we really want to focus on getting that patient to that definitive level 1, level 2 trauma care in the most expeditious way possible. We've taken the approach in the past, and I was with Jason many years ago on a critical gunshot wound, where we rendezvoused with a helicopter at Davis Hospital. We arrived in the parking lot, went right on the helicopter. Jason and I have discussed this, and I don't know if that's always the best approach. I think, and I know, we can safely land helicopters on scene, as well as, if not, maybe even a safer scenario than running with a helicopter on the helipad in the parking lot, at the hospital. So, what I would like to see is, if we're considering the need for helicopter evacuation, get that patient to a definitive level 1 or level 2 center, that we activate that helicopter at scene. Again, there are caveats. If you're right next door to the hospital, we had a case within the last week where the injuries sustained were right next to the hospital on Antelope Drive, then by all means, head over to the hospital. There may be weather considerations in this. There may be delayed activation of the helicopter, either for availability or weather issues. So it's not a one plan fits all, but I would prefer us to move toward a model where we recognize the need for level 1 or level 2 trauma care, exercise the use of helicopter emergency service activation, and use that as a seed flag. Not to take hospitals like Davis out of the loop, but realizing these patients benefit more from level 1 and level 2 care, especially when it comes to pediatric patients. We really don't have any hospitals up here that can approach the level of care that primary children's care for a critical pediatric patient. That's really the only destination I think we should be considering for those patients. And so I would say in those cases, seeing helicopter activation is probably the way we ought to be going again, unless there are some other extenuating circumstances. But those are not patients that are going to be staying at Davis Hospital, at Lakeman Hospital, or even at McKay. So why not get them to definitive care while you're still in that golden hour of care? When it comes to adults, we have more options. If we're close to McKay level 2 center, by all means, head to that facility. If we're closer to Davis and this patient falls into that red status, then maybe that's an indication to activate a helicopter to do a scene response. I don't mean to shake things up. I'm still sticking with what I've said before. We want to minimize scene time on trauma care. But what I'm looking to move away from is this thought of maybe trying to rendezvous with a helicopter on the helipad at Davis Hospital. If you have a need for a helicopter, get it to the scene, and as long as that can be done in an expeditious fashion. In terms of recognizing the patients that are going to most qualify from a helicopter evacuation and transport to a level 1 or 2, well, then that's where we go to our guidelines and use our guidelines to help us with that decision making. Red criteria for the national guideline for the field triage of injured patients identifies things like penetrating injury to the neck, trunk, or head, or proximal extremities, skull injury, skull deformity, spinal injury with neurodeficits, flail chest, chest wall instability, situations where you're dealing with respiratory failure, obvious pelvic fracture, multiple proximal long bone injuries, pulseless extremities, and I'm not just saying, shoulder dislocation where you might have thready pulses, but somebody who truly has no pulses, somebody who's required a tourniquet on a proximal extremity, or somebody who's got a significant amputation that's above the wrist or above the ankle. So those are injury patterns that would benefit from the highest level of trauma care. And then we also have vital signs. And we'll put this out there as a resource that people can refer to. But if the patient's heart rate is greater than their blood pressure in an adult category, that's generally someone who is compromised and would benefit from the highest level of trauma care. So,
yeah, so a couple of really important things that you brought up. First of all, Chief Wands asked me to put together a new policy. Included in this are going to be the guidelines that Dr. O shared with us as the Chiefs group, so that you can refer to those in your decision making and kind of discussing this around the kitchen table a little bit. What about that gestalt though? Like, we just get on scene, maybe we're looking at ice fire or details on the computer, and we're like, this looks bad. And we put a helicopter in the air or whatever, just based on some information. Remember, we can always cancel a helicopter if that ends up being the case and that person's not as badly injured as we thought. And I think it's sometimes okay to over triage. But what, like Mark, I just want to reiterate kind of what Mark shared. Like, we kind of get a vibe on those patients that we know need to be in Salt Lake or need to be at a level 2 trauma center. And our folks, and by the way, the folks at the hospital, have really invested in these patients recently, thinking and hoping that they were doing the right thing. I don't want to take anything away from what anybody's done, but the way that the system's evolved, we're finding more frequently that those patients that we thought we were going to have a quick turn in the parking lot at the helipad are ending up going inside and spending too long. A couple points to bring up too. I spoke with both Brian Law and Jill Lynn, specifically at Davis Hospital. They totally understand our point of view, and they're supportive, so they understand that. Reiterate too, there are certainly going to be occasions where you're going to end up going to Davis still, and you should, and we will always support that. One of those that you didn't mention is, if somebody's in cardiac arrest or peri-arrest as a trauma patient, like you legitimately think you're going to be doing CPR on this person soon, by all means go to the hospital. And if you just, in your heart, or you just are convinced that you should go in that hospital, then by all means you should go in that hospital. But you know, one of the captains said to me after their incident recently, they said, you know, I hate going lights and sirens to the hospital because we don't do really good care in the back of the ambulance because we're jostling around and doing everything. And I just feel like we'd be better if we stayed and did what we did. And that's exactly what we want you to do. So stay and do good airway practices, stay and do good bleeding control, get IV access, manage that patient the way that you've done for years and done very, very well at. And then help support the flight team when they land on scene to do whatever interventions they need to do, helping them with an RSI or a more critical airway intervention, injuries to the chest, they may do some things that we can't do, and then get that patient going. And so I think this is a good approach. It's something that we've been deliberate and thoughtful about, and so I hope as incident commanders, those of you that are medics on the rigs, when you are in one of those circumstances, I want you to feel empowered to call for that flight team. A couple caveats about the flight team. If you call, and for whatever reason this helicopter isn't at Davis Hospital, and you hear, well, they're coming from Salt Lake, or they're coming from Tooele, or Park City, or wherever, and if you don't feel that investment of time is better spent than going by ground to the level 2 centers up in Weaver County, or frankly, even maybe to Salt Lake, by all means do that. Don't, just because we've said, consider using helicopters more frequently, feel like you're locked into that decision. Because there's always going to be occasions, no matter what, those of us that fly or otherwise, that we wouldn't recommend it. So, again, this is something that we want for those of you, again, this is infrequent. These are not a lot of our call volume. I don't think it's appreciably going to change things much for us year to year. But we wanted you to know that as chiefs, as our medical director, and even the medical community, like I said, we've spoken with the hospital, that in circumstances similar to what we've had or otherwise, feel empowered to call for a helicopter. Let's utilize our law enforcement partners. Like Mark said, we can do it very safely. I think the evolution of this has become, well, it's safer for us to go over and do a rendezvous at the helipad. The original notion was actually, because of how close we are to the helicopter, we can transport there while they're getting out to and getting spooled up, and narrow that interval that the patient's getting into the helicopter. And while at face value that seems like a great idea, it's getting interrupted periodically, and so that's what we're trying to maybe circumvent by bringing the helicopter to the scene. But we can land anywhere in town. There are absolutely safe LZs in very close proximity to everywhere that you are in town. So it's not a safety issue. Utilize our law enforcement partners. Chief Ward would be thrilled if you had another engine come, if you feel the need to help secure our LZ. Do it as safely as you can. Do it as early as you can so that that interval between when we get a launch request and when they arrive is as short as possible. Use that standby option. And let's see if we can't kind of move the needle a little bit about getting trauma patients to maybe a more appropriate, given that particular circumstance, than what we have in the past. So, anything else?
No, I agree completely. These are rare events. And as things go in EMS, they all run in groups. Just like we had a little string of errors in terms of how we administer our infusion medications. Now we've had a couple of really critical trauma cases back to back to back. That's how things go. I trust your care. You guys give phenomenal care, and that's in due to part to the extensive education program we have here, to the generous protocols we've given you to work under, and I know you guys make the right call. Trust your intuition. Trust your gestalt. A lot of that comes with experience, and you need to see things to have experience, but when your gut is telling you this patient is going to be pretty sick, I'm not going to second guess you. If you're going to activate a helicopter for that case, and you have a reason to be doing it, you have my back. And so those aren't ones where you're going to have to worry there's repercussions where someone's going to second guess you. We're not looking to open Pandora's box and be using helicopters left and right, but we do believe there are cases that we can be capturing where we can be improving on these patients' care by getting them to definitive care. When I say definitive, patients that need a level 1 or 2 need a level 1 or 2 as opposed to a 3 or a 4. And we can get them there within that golden hour. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
If you've got any questions, you can always reach out to me or any of the chief officers. We've spoken, like I said, extensively about it. Look for the new policy. Talk as partners about circumstances that you think might fit that, maybe calls that you've been on in the past, or so that you kind of prime yourself for those instances. And like Mark said, I can't agree with him anymore. You guys are doing really good care. We hear about it a lot from our physician partners at both places. And I'm super proud of the work we're doing. And you've heard me say it. We're a young department. We're gaining experience. We're gaining knowledge. We're doing really good things. And this is just another way that we hope to empower you to take the very best care of our patients. So if you have any questions, reach out. Don't hesitate to. You've even got Dr. Rowe's email if you want to reach out to him about, I would say it's fair to say, about any topic. And thanks. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you all.
Okay, any questions about that?
Ogden Regional's a trauma too.
They are. I don't know why he kept admitting he works for him now. That's fine. But yeah, and if you want to go to Ogden Regional, by all means, go to Ogden Regional. So I want to reiterate just a couple points that I made. I am not pointing fingers, nor was he or any of us, at what happened those nights or otherwise at either of these level 3s. Those in every one of those circumstances, I know the docs and everybody else is doing everything that they can for those patients. Okay? It is not safer to go over there. Is it fair to say we can land anywhere in this community very, very safely?
Either agency's aircraft can land. And think about where we're at. There's a church a block away from everywhere.
All right, and don't say to the helicopter when it comes in, we're in the church parking lot, because they say about 6 from where they're at, but that's a whole other story. All right, launch early, cancel if you have to. If you hear me ever request a helicopter, I say send a helicopter. I need to know who it is and where they're coming from. Okay, I don't request AirMed. I'm guessing that Mark doesn't request Lifeline. If AirMed's not available and they're like, Lifeline's coming from Ogden, and that works for you, by all means, do it. By all means, do it. But if they tell you, hey, Life Flight's coming from Salt Lake Valley, or AirMed's coming from Park City, and you think you could be to wherever Plan B is quicker, then by all means do that and cancel. Nobody cares, all right? But the point is, don't be shy, call early, stay on scene and do good work. It's safe to do it, and let's maybe move the needle on those super sick patients of ours to getting people to a level of care where the entirety of their care gets managed better, not just that first 30 minutes or so. Just so you know, I said to Mark, and he agreed with, not that Mark, Dr. O, I said, I don't know of anything other than, well, not even blood, I don't know of any intervention in the first 20 to 30 minutes that a trauma doc, or that a doc at one of these two hospitals is gonna do that our department combined with the flight team can't do. All the interventions, all the life-saving stuff, including blood now, are things that between us and them, whoever them is, can throw at a patient, is the exact same things that's gonna happen over there. They don't need imaging. They'll get imaging where they're at, right? So get them on a helicopter, get them going, do good work in between. Any questions about that? Okay, I gotta go. Thanks, you guys have been awesome today. Thanks for your interaction and stuff. Appreciate it.
Before you guys all take off, I've noticed with the idle time, and it's not you guys doing it, but dispatch is putting a return to the city or what, well, that changes your idle time. So check your computers as you're clearing the hospital, make sure it shows on duty. If you're coming from Salt Lake,